Hello and welcome to this test video. I'm FIDE Master Ingvar Jóhannesson from Iceland, and we're going to look at some moments from today's Armageddon games at the Norway Chess. This is the 6th round. I actually haven't been covering any of this tournament, and well, to be honest, I'm not sure how this experiment with the Armageddon games is going. The format, if you don't know it, is such that it's a round robin. Everybody plays against each other one time. And if the classical game is a draw, they will play an Armageddon game after the classical game finishes on the same day. And this has resulted in some strange scoring systems. If you win the classical game, you get 2 points. If you draw the classical game but win the Armageddon, you get 1.5. And yeah, if you draw and you lose, you get half a point. So it's a little bit difficult to follow the scores, and it's a little bit off-putting for me that you see somebody win and you have to look up the scoring system to see what's going on. So really not a big fan, and we've seen plenty of rounds where it's just all draws and the players are just too tired, I think, and people forget that one classical game, there's a lot of mental energy that goes into a classical game, and then later that day you have to play a game for all the marbles. Armageddon game, that's also huge psychological pressure, and I think the pressure has been getting to some of the players, and in particular this one. The main game I want to look at is Carlsen's game against Ding. Well, because everybody likes to look at Carlsen's games. He's been on fire in this tournament, well, in terms of the scoring, and he's playing against Ding, one of the absolute top players and probable contenders for the crown. But first, Grzesiuk against Caruana, and Grzesiuk has been having a rough tournament after a good Grand Prix tournament where he made the final against Jan Nepomniachtchi. And this is the Armageddon game, and believe it or not, we have the Spanish Ruy Lopez, and we're just going to go quickly over the moves, not really analyze the moves. We're just going to get to the relevant position. We have a normal looking sort of Spanish/Italian type position. C5 now, rook e1, queen c7, b4, c4, and here Grzesiuk plays queen c1. I guess his idea is at some point to play maybe knight f1, knight g3, bishop h6. But look what happens after d5. He decides to play bishop h6 immediately. And yes, you didn't miss anything. This piece is right here. So this is actually what happened. Grzesiuk played bishop h6, which is just a clear blunder. A whole piece down the drain. Game over. Resigns. So 1.5 points for Caruana on, well, basically on the account of Alexander Grzesiuk having no energy. So let's move on to another game. Aronian against So. I'm going to pull that one up, just a moment. The game between Aronian and So, something strange happened as well. Well, the game was actually quite good by Aronian, so we're just going to quickly go through the game. It was an English opening. Aronian played with e4, sort of what Carlsen has been doing. Knight g2, e2. And Aronian, well, Wesley goes for this approach with bishop c5, trying to get control over the d4 square. But the control of the d4 square also gives white not a free hand, but some options on the king side, connected with f4, and Aronian goes for that. Bishop to e3 now, b5, takes. And what happened in the game was that Aronian went for this king side attack here, queen g4, h4, and eventually he allowed black to take here on d3. So black is up a pawn, but white has a very dangerous attack. and this was pretty well played for a blitz game. And it seems that white was better throughout the game here. He goes for the trade. At the moment he's down a pawn, but black is in a very big bind. He does win a pawn here on e4, but white is pushing here. h6, knight to g3 check. The knight comes back, and we have this situation here: rook a7. And with best play, black might be able to hold this. Well, I haven't had time to really, fully analyze the position, but black is in a rather big bind here. I mean, he does have 2 extra pawns, but he's stuck on the back rank. The rook can't really go anywhere because of the back rank. It's probably hard to push the pawns, and you can't move the knight. But that is precisely what happened. Rook c8 or rook b8, and the game continues. And mind you, black only needs a draw in the Armageddon to secure the draw. But a shocking move, especially at this level, to hang mate in one move after knight f5. Aronian, of course, played rook h7. So 2 quite shocking blunders, even though we're playing. It's 10-7. It's not like a full-on blitz game. So all the more surprising. So okay, like I said, the players seem to be quite tired. But now we're going to move on to well, sort of the main event of the round, Carlsen against Ding. So let me pull that one up. So finally we arrive at the well, main event of this round. If Carlsen wins this, then he's basically pulling away with the tournament. I think he's won one game, which gives him 2 points, and since then he's been winning all the mini matches, 1.5 half. So scoring wise, doing quite well, but he's losing a little bit of rating in the classical with all the draws. But let's see the game. So this is the Armageddon game. All the games of the round were drawn, like I said earlier. And in this one, Carlsen opted for the Italian game, not going for the English, which has been more or less his main weapon this year. Knight f6, d3, b5. And again, the Spanish and the Italians, they tend to look quite similar. Ding goes for an aggressive approach here with g5, bishop g3, bishop comes back to b6, and knight a5, which is actually a novelty. This has been played before when black castled. Carlsen keeps the light squared bishop. We have knight to h5, a4 by Carlsen, and now he's threatening to play a takes, b5 takes, and b4, and the rook would be undefended, which explains rook b8. b4 nonetheless, and now Ding took the bishop pair, took on g3, and knight f1 now by Carlsen. So Carlsen has a nice compact structure, but on the other hand, black does have the bishop pair. So knight f1 signals that he wants to gun for either of these 2 squares. But first, queen to f6 by Ding, now threatening g4 and attack on f2. Queen e2 protects, knight to e7, knight comes to e3, but Ding has already secured those squares with this knight. h5, bishop e3, then the bishop can now return to the diagonal that it wants to be on. It had to retreat after knight a5, but now we have made space for the bishop on this juicy diagonal. c6, Carlsen took and expanded in the center with d4. Ding went with g4, takes, and knight h4. Yeah, note that if you take here, I will take your queen, and this looks like it should be in white's favor. We're winning a pawn, so white would be quite happy here. So Ding takes back, knight h4, queen g5, and now both sides castle. So again, white is very solid on the king side, and would like at some point maybe to do something about this square. Also, he has the option of breaking at some point with the f pawn. And to do that, you'd have to move the king here to h2 or h1. And this is indeed what happened. Rook a to d1. Carlsen figures there's not much to do on the a file. Rook a8, king h2, rook a3. Here Carlsen kicks the rook back with queen to b2 and rook d6. And here, after king g7, Carlsen takes his chance here, and he's getting a much better position now here after c4. An excellent move which exposes the queen's relation here to the king on g7. And note that you can't put the bishop on this juicy square because we'll simply take it, and your rook here will be hanging because of the check. So c4 is a very strong move, and one point is that you can't take on c4 because knight takes c4, and again you can't play bishop d4 because rook takes, and bishop c7 I have a very strong move f4 where you just pinned all over the place, and after you take, knight takes, your queen doesn't have a square. Queen g4, knight takes, and if you try to save the queen, you're actually just getting mated. King h7, rook check, and rook or queen to h8 is checkmate. So going back to c4, Ding played bishop to c7, and here Carlsen should have played c5 when he has a very strong position. The point is, you can't really take, this guy's hanging, and you have to move it, but where do you move it really? Whichever square you choose. I'm entering on f5 with a very strong position. But Carlsen played f4, and probably around here he missed something after, yeah, he should have played c5, because now after g takes f3, he would like to play knight takes f3, but his knight on e3 is hanging, so he had to retreat the rook, and now f2 takes on g2. So still a complicated position, but I think Carlsen must have missed something, because in what follows he is now down a pawn. Probably is a bit of a bind still, but this will be very hard to win. And after rook d8, takes, queen e2, rook a3, queen d3, hitting the bishop, bishop c7, and notice these bishops, of course, covering all the entry squares on the d file, so no entry there, entry denied. And I actually turned on the broadcast here after king f8, and I was like, yeah, I mean, he's down a pawn, black has the bishop pair, okay, the black squared bishop is passive, but how does white do anything? I mean, there's a pin here from the rook. I mean, the bishop can't move. You can't enter on the d file. How do you improve the white position? And you're down a pawn. And turns out white is struggling here. He might make a draw, but queen c2 was not a good move, because queen g4, and we're facing some difficulties here. The thing is, black is threatening to take here on b3, queen takes, and then queen takes e4 check, and the knight on f5 is dropping. So Carlsen played rook to f3, and here Ding misses a golden opportunity. He could have played bishop to e6, and of course you can't take it, because again we have this pin. He would take the rook. So let's say we play a move like rook to e3. I simply now take everything on b3, and I take on e4, and you are, I believe, more or less forced to trade queens, because I'm trying to win two in the piece. So you have to go queen f3, and even though white has a bit of a bind here, black is up 2 pawns, and he's not going to lose this. So Ding would have won the Armageddon if this had happened. However, he took on f5, h4, and now it should be about equal, but now white is all of a sudden getting some chances. Rook to f7, protected by the bishop, king g6, and here Carlsen was finding seemingly all the correct moves, queen f2. threatening to come into f6, and Ding decided to trade queens, took on g3, and it might look tempting to take on c7, but I think that's just a draw I will take. You get this pawn, but you're gonna drop the b pawn, and maybe I just start with king g5, and the king is coming here, and I don't think white is winning this. And Carlsen seemed to believe the same. He played bishop to e6. Now the bishop is hanging on c7, so bishop to d8. Another nice move by Carlsen. Black probably wants to play bishop to h4 and then give a check. Try to maneuver the rook and give a check maybe. So Carlsen prevents that with king to h3. Bishop g5. Rook c7, eyeing the c6 pawn. Bishop f4. Everything is still okay, but Carlsen out of nowhere finds an annoying situation here for black. Bishop f7 and rook g6 is threatened, and if that happens, king h5, and the rook would swing over and give a check and pick up this rook. So black has to find something, and there is a move, but Ding didn't find it. He blundered here from what seems like probably a dead drawn position. He could have played bishop e3, and we'll see the difference in the main line. In the game he played bishop d2, which is a horrible blunder, and after rook g6, all he could do was hide his face in his hands, because after king f4, rook g4, he actually paused a bit before playing king f4, wanted to resign but made one more move. As you can see, the king moves to the third, and we pick up the g3 pawn and the rook on a3. Had the bishop however been on e3, the same variation does not work, because we can go to f3, and if we now give the check, well, I could go to f2 or pick up the pawn, but the important thing is that the bishop is preventing me from losing my rook, and now I'm not losing the game. So that was all the difference, all the daylight that Magnus Carlsen needed to win this Armageddon match. And well, yeah, too many mistakes really. Maybe this is what the people want, you know. Tell me in the comments. Do you enjoy this tournament so far? Do you understand the rules? Do you need to look them up? Do you think the classical games are going okay, or are they going sort of strangely because of the Armageddon? And how do you like the Armageddon? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.